Okay, welcome back. I thought what would be interesting actually, because there's so much stuff in the news, it's, and it's just so much stuff that I've spoken about, and so on, is to sort of like bring you up to date with the, what's happening in terms of Simone Mashiach, Messianic
Is a woman
sons.
president? Is a woman president part of that?
No.
Woman kippish,
I don't see that. So, there really are a lot of things going on now, which you're probably not aware of, that are very indicative that this really we're very close. Just based on the signs that have been happening, and I'll get into the different ideas and so on. The first thing that I want to speak about is the incredible astronomical event. And you'll see why, we all know what a lunar eclipse is. A lunar eclipse is when the earth blocks the sun and therefore the moon goes dark. You know that, right? That's a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse, by and large, the Chazal tell us that it's bad for Klal Yisrael. By and large, because we count by the moon, the Goyim count by the sun. And therefore, a solar eclipse is where the moon blocks the sun from hitting the earth. That's bad for the Goyim, because they count by the sun, and we count by the moon. So therefore, a lunar eclipse, by and large, is not good. By and large, is not good. So the first concept is a lunar eclipse, like I said. And a lunar eclipse, like I said, Chazal say, is not good for the Jews. But, a lunar eclipse is rare. Rare means it can happen, let's say, once a year, maybe once every 2 years. Obviously not common. What is even rarer than a lunar eclipse is called a blood moon. What a blood moon is that even though the earth blocks the sun, and therefore the moon should be dark, but what happens is there's certain things that occur, whatever it is, that instead of the moon turning dark, it turns red. That's not a mamash, a real red, it's an orange red, and so on.
What causes that?
What was that?
What causes that?
Apparently the earth itself, even on the dark side of the earth, gives off light. The oceans give off light. Whatever. Reflects light, and then the atmosphere, it refracts the light going around from the sun through the atmosphere, and probably red comes out and so on, whatever. But the main idea is that a blood moon, that a lunar eclipse should be red, orange red and so on, is even rarer, and so on. That's called a blood moon. Doesn't obviously, out of every lunar eclipse, sometimes it happens that there's a blood moon. What is even rarer than that is 4 consecutive blood moons. That means a blood moon will happen in 1 month, then let's say 6 months later there's another blood moon in that year, and then the next year you'll have the same thing, a blood moon, and again you'll have a blood moon, let's say half a year later. That's called a tetrad. Tetrad. 4 blood moons consecutively, which is incredibly rare. What's even rarer than that is this. Is where one blood moon happens on Pesach night. Pesach night, right? Friday night that passed is the Tezvov in Nisan. That's a full moon. That's the time when an eclipse happens. So what is incredibly rare, a tetrad, is when one blood moon occurs Pesach night, the next blood moon occurs Sukkot night in 1 year, The next one, because a tetrad means 4 blood moons, the third blood moon will occur again the next year, Pesach night, and the fourth one will be Sukkot night. That is so rare that it has happened only 3 times in 500 years. It's not bad. You're talking about something which is phenomenally rare. So, it happened last year, Pesach and Sukkot, and it happened just Pesach now, and it's going to happen again Sukkot night. So this is the 4th time in a 500-year period that it is happening. Why is that significant? It's an astronomical event. So why should it be significant?
Well, what happened during the other 3 ones?
What was that?
What happened during the other 3 ones?
Oh, not what happened, when it happened. The first one happened, I mean, it probably happened before, but they go back 500 years. So the first one that happened 500 years ago was 1492. What happened 1492? We know was the Spanish expulsion. But what's more important is that Columbus set sail for America. In fact, they say he set sail on the very day, I think it was in Tisha B'Av, whatever, that he set sail for America on the very day that the Jews got expelled from Spain. Why is that significant? Because we know Klal Yisrael is in Golus, right? And Golus has many different Ummos Ha'olam that are Meshabit Klal Yisrael, which means that there are 4 nations, right, that will subjugate the Jews. We know who they are, right? There's, of course, Babylon, Bavel, there's Persia, there's Greece, and there's Rome. We know that. What is interesting, however, is each one of these things have a certain power to enslave or to persecute the Jews. If you take a look at Rome, who is Rome? Rome doesn't exist today, yet we know that we are in the Shibud of Rome, Edom. So if you take a look in the Torah, we know that Edom was, it wasn't the Torah. That's right. Esav zu Edom. Esav is Edom. Esav became a nation called Edom, and that's in the Torah. Esav zu Edom. Who's Edom? So the Gemara says that the Edomites is Rome. Rome is from the Edomites. Without tracing the history, but Edom is Rome. Who is Rome today? Rome disappeared, depending on which Roman Empire, the east or the west. It disappeared a long time ago. Whether it be Rome disappeared 1,500 years ago, whatever, or it disappeared, later on, so on, Constantinople, the Roman Empire, and so on. Rome disappeared a long time ago. So, who then is Esav? And the answer is that Rome was changed. It's called a klipa. The klipa, or the nation that will subjugate the Jews, changed its form from a nation to a religion. So Rome became Christianity. You can see that clearly. I once spoke about this. You can see that clearly because if you go to the Vatican, right, the Vatican is filled with Roman artifacts. It's filled with it. I remember I was once in the Vatican. Yeah, Roman statues all over the place. So the truth is that the Vatican, which of course is Italy, Christianity, is a seat of Christianity. That's Rome. They took over the Malchus of Rome, and it's always interesting because what's the whole concept? I once mentioned this. The whole concept of a ummah that persecutes the Jews is to bring a tikkun to the Jews through Yisurim, because the Jews do the tikkun, the rectification of the bria, either through mitzvahs, tshuva, repentance, or Yisurim, suffering. So Rome does it through the 4 nations that will persecute the Jews. They do it through suffering. So therefore Christianity is Rome. And it's funny, I once mentioned that if you spell Vatican in Hebrew, Vatikan, and you take the Vav in the beginning of Vatikan, and put it after the Kuf, it's Tikkun. Okay? The essential concept of Rome is Tikkun. Actually, it says that in the name. So therefore, Christianity is Rome, or Esav, or Edom. Why did the Russian change from a nation to a religion, because Rome is the last shibud, basically. And therefore, Klal Yisrael is going to go into Golos, and they're going to go. Klal Yisrael is going to go into Golos, and they're going to go all over the world. So what the Rosh Hashanah obviously did not want, he didn't want a nation. So if Klal Yisrael is all over the world, that means Rome will have to be the greatest nation on earth for 2,000 years. And the Rosh Hashanah obviously didn't want that. So what he did is he changed Rome into a religion, Christianity, and Christianity can follow the Jews wherever they go. In other words, the Jews will just go into different Christian nations. So therefore, that's the logic of why Rome, Edom, Esav, was changed to a religion, Christianity. In fact, what's interesting, I once mentioned also, is that the Ari says that Yeshu is a Gilgul of Esav. I mean, that really completes the whole picture, and so on. The Ari says that, you know. What?
That's what he says.
That's what he says. Not bad, huh?
Even though he was a Yid?
Esav was Jewish also.
I understand, but
Can't
he
be
lost
better than
it.
Zeta.
But he lost it.
Can't be better than Zeta. Zeta was also
That's
Jewish.
about the point. He lost it.
This one also lost it.
I want to tell you something, you know, just as an aside. This is very interesting. Besides the Jewish nation, the major nation, besides the Jewish nation, are two Jews. They emanate from Jews. Yishmael is Jewish, and so is Esav. And Esav and Edom, those are the two major nations in the world that persecute the Jews, and so on. But in any case, so therefore, Edom was changed into from Rome into a religion called Christianity. Who is Christianity today? Western civilization, right? Europe, Russia, United States, Canada. Western civilization is Christianity. Therefore, when the Jews go all over Europe and so on, they are really in the shibud of Edom. So therefore, that prophecy can be fulfilled. Now, however, Esav himself, Edom, Rome, Christianity, Western civilization, has two forms to him. He has a mild form and a bad form. In fact, he has really three forms to him. Esav had three characteristics. I had once spoke about this. Esav has three characteristics. He's a tremendous balgaiva. Vayives Esav es ha-bechora, and Esav despised the firstborn, right? The rituals and so on. That's the geos, the gaiva of Esav. The second thing, Esav is a fraud, because he's Merames Piv. He's always fooling Yitzchak. He's a fraud. He's an imposter. And the third aspect of Esav is Esav loves pleasure. You know, he's a tremendous ben oilim hazer, and he loves pleasure. And that is why you find Western civilization divided into three areas. The gaiva of Esav, if you remember, I spoke about this. The gaiva of Esav is Russia. Why? Because the Russian Orthodox Church, and Esav, the gaiva of Esav is so dangerous that it can only last about 80 years. And that was communism that took place in Russia. So that's the gaiva of the worst part of Esav, and they are the worst. The second aspect of Esav, which is the deception and the fraud, is Europe, because they're a bunch of frauds. I mean, Christianity fundamentally is a fraud, because they butchered Jews. You can't believe how many nations Christianity destroyed, spreading the gospel, as they say. You know, so therefore, Europe is a fraud. They preach on one side, turn the other cheek, right? And meanwhile, it's your cheek that they turn. Immediately.
Before they shoot you.
Before they shoot you, yeah.
Shooting was good already.
Yeah. Yeah. However, the last form of Esav is America. America is the Tov Shebei Esav. In fact, that's why they have Mother's Day and Father's Day, because that's the Tov Shebei Esav.
Why is Taiva called Tov?
Who?
Why is Taiva referred to as
No, Tov only in the fact
Relative
that
Tov.
they don't. It's relative. Yeah. Tov Shebei Esav means it won't butcher you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, America's a great nation. It really is. In that sense, you know, America gives the greatest foreign aid. You know, America's really an Umash Chesed. You know, forget Europe is the Jews. What the Jews went through in Europe is beyond belief. You know, and Russia also. But America is a tremendous nation. It's a Umash Chesed. In fact, Esav, which is interesting itself, the American form of Esav, really is a protector of Klal Yisrael. That's really what their job is, which is interesting. Because they're the Tov Sheba Esav, they're good. That's represented by Esav's kibbud of aim, and so on. America, till now anyway, family was very important and so on. You know, now it's disintegrating. Yeah, quite rapidly. But in any way, so America's the Tov Sheba Esav. So by Columbus going out and discovering America, essentially, he was discovering or giving rise to the easiest form of Gullus. That's a messianic advancement. To go from a real hard Gullus to a lighter Gullus is a messianic advancement, you see. So therefore, that tetrad that I just spoke about happened in 1492. Columbus went to discover America, right, which he did, and so on. And that's the beginning of the formation of Tov Sheba Esav, which is a much lighter form of Gullus. Look, America has allowed the Jews to learn Torah, and so on. So that's what's called the messianic advancement. It is a reduction in the klipa of Esav, clearly. And that, in that year, there was a tetrad. Tetrad is 4 blood moons. Okay. When was the next time that you had the tetrad? You had 4 consecutive blood moons, right? Pesach, Sukkot, and we just had the third one this Pesach, right? It was 1948. What happened in 1948? Israel. You know, and so on. So the state of Israel, which clearly is a messianic advancement, even though there are people who hold that, you know, I'm not going to get to the other Shiitas and so on, you know. But in however you look at it, Israel is a messianic advancement. And that year of 1948, there was a tetrad. Unbelievable. That was the second time in 500 years. And it occurred at a tetrad is, a lunar eclipse becomes dark. If it becomes blood red, it's called a blood moon. A lunar eclipse that turns red, the moon, instead of dark, black, is called a blood moon. When you have 4 consecutive ones, that's called a tetrad. And what's even rarer, as I said, is when you have one Pesach night, Sukkot night, Pesach night, and then Sukkot night again, the following year. That's mamash what happened now. It happened, like I said, 3 times in 500 years. So it happened in 1492, Messianic advancement. It happened in 1948, founding of the State of Israel. Then it happened again in 1967. What was that? Yeah. What was that? That was the reunification of Jerusalem. I mean, look how it's getting closer, right? And it happened now. So there are many people that are saying, you know, by the way, the ones who discovered this is the fundamentalist Christians. And they're going wild. Because they're saying that something tremendous is going to happen for the Jews. You know?
Why would they say that? Why would they know that? There's a very strong Christian voice now for Israel and Jews. Where would they come up with this? I'm not really studying our...
There's a guy, John Hagee, whatever he calls himself. He is a pastor that has a congregation of 2 million people or something like that. He's in San Antonio, Texas. He discovered it in 2008. And he wrote a book. He wrote a book on the tetrad, about what was about to happen. And they are like, oh, and he actually made a documentary movie about it, which they showed about a month ago and something like that. And they hold, because they hold anyway, Israel is significant in the coming of their guy, and so on. So he discovered that the tetrad was going to happen again, and he's going wild, and so on. So that's a very significant thing. So the concept of a tetrad has now happened for the 4th time. And every time it happens, there is an advancement of the Mashiach in the process.
Isn't it supposed to be bad?
That's
for the
number
Jews?
1.
The blood moon is supposed to be bad for the Jews, isn't it?
So what's interesting is since the blood moon always happens on a Yom Tov, Pesach night is Leil Shimurim. You know, on the contrary, since it always happens for the...
And then Sukkot is Tzel de Merusa.
Yeah, I mean, these are mamash tremendous, and so on. But besides that, one could say that when it turns blood red, that means red is the symbol of Esav, isn't it? Red. Mars is a sign of Esav. So when the moon turns blood, it means that Klal Yisrael has overcome Esav. It's a reverse. So whether it's because of the Untitled or it's because of Klal Yisrael and so on, good sign. But the tetrad should happen now is absolutely incredible. That's the first idea, okay? Second idea is that the last blood moon of the tetrad will happen on Sukkot. This Sukkot, right? This coming Sukkot. And what is this coming Sukkot? Motzei Shemitah. And the Gemara says that the Mashiach comes on Motzei Shemitah. And that's even rarer. That the tetrad, I don't know if those the first three tetrads happen on Motzei Shemitah, but the Sukkot is Motzei Shemitah. And Omar Rava, he has a whole thing, I think it's in Gemara Megillah, that the Mashiach comes Motzei Shemitah. That's a second incredible thing. Also, a third idea is that there are many people that hold that this Motzei Shemitah is Yovel. Is a Yovel. And what does it say? Ukrosim drol choloretz, and you should proclaim liberty throughout the land. What does liberty mean? Where everything goes back to its original owner. Everything is chayzer. So that's a third very interesting concept. Now lest you say, nice, interesting, but I'm a Chazal man, right? Where do you find this in the Torah? About tetrads or blood moons or anything like that. Okay? So, if you'll take a look at Yoel, Perek Gimel, Pasuk Dalet. Okay? Perek Gimel, Pasuk Dalet, in Yoel. Yoel is saying a nevuah, and here's the nevuah. Okay? Where the Rebbe Hashem says, I will blot out the sun. It's a total solar eclipse, which by the way happened this year. I will blot out the sun, and I will turn the moon to blood on the great and awesome day of God. Now what does that mean? It's a blood moon. And it's a nevuah that right before the Mashiach comes, right, there will be a solar eclipse and a blood moon. Mamash Pasuk and Yoel. If you want to take a look at this.
Perek Gimel Pasuk Dalet?
Perek Gimel Pasuk Dalet, yeah. Gimel Dalet is God, so you have to remember it. Okay? So that's a fourth idea, which is incredible. Fifth idea. Something incredible happened locally. In Lakewood. It's Paraduma. I went to see it in Chalamoid. So far people have seen, who has seen the Paraduma? Who went to see it?
Oh yeah, he closed down for renovations because he has to handle all the crowds, I think.
Because people started, but it's a red cow, it's red-orange, that's what it is. And a red heifer is, how rare a red heifer is? It's a genetic anomaly and so on, But even its eyes is pink and has red in it, It's a real paraduma, which is really astounding when you think about that. Just as an aside, a light statement, why was the paraduma born in Lakewood? Why Lakewood? You know why? Because you're not allowed to work with a paraduma. And Lakewood, nobody works. Anyway, that's a joke. But anyway, who knows? Maybe it's not a joke.
This
anyway.
is the most convenient, the most convincing argument.
Yeah, okay. But that a paraduma should be born now in the tetrad? What's going on here? That means Klal Yisrael, I heard this guy's he was offered $1 million twice for this paraduma, and he's going to ship it off to Israel. I heard that's good. So you better chop around to look at it.
Where is it?
What?
Where is it?
366 Oak Glen Road. That's where it is. It's in Howell, right over here. It's like 5-10 minutes from here. 10 minutes from here. It's nothing,
Is it yet?
Who? Yeah. Yeah, it's a Jewish guy, yeah. 366 Oakland Road, yeah. In Howell, yeah, it's right over here. So that's the fifth thing, which is really incredible, you know. Also, there was a gadol who said the name of Rabbi Chonon Wassman, that Rabbi Chonon Wassman said that he has it, the Ruach HaKodesh. Now, we don't know if he had it because of his, or Chavetz Chaim, we don't know. That this Adam Gold didn't say. But he has it that after the Holocaust, there was a Shemitah in 1951. There was one during the Holocaust, I think in 43, 44, and the next one was 51, that after the Holocaust, not including the one in the Holocaust, there will be 10 Shemitahs. And after the 10th Shemitah, the Mashiach will come. That's what he said, which is very interesting. And one more idea. We read the Nisim, the Nisim are the 12 chiefs, heads of the tribes. There are 12 of them, right? And in each one of the Nisim, it says the word Atudim. It says the word Atudim. Atudim is a he-goat. Now, in 11 of them, it's missing the vav. It has a kubotz instead of a vav. So instead of Atudim, you could read Asidim. Okay? So you could learn, the remez would be that there will be 12 prime ministers, chiefs of Israel. Okay? Because it's Asidim. Just like there was 12 before, maybe it's a remez that there will be 12 prime ministers. And Netanyahu was the 12th. There were more times, but there were only 12 people, even if they were elected again. So he's the 12th prime minister. Anyway, you put all this together, and it's very, very interesting. What?
Do tshuva.
Do tshuva, yeah. But what's really fascinating about all this is what's happening out in America. Iran and so on. So let's talk a little about that.
Russia, just quickly before...
That's what's really incredible. What's happening now? What?
There's something quite extraordinarily, profoundly troubling that Yoel mentioned. The 7 kids, the seven children that...
But those kids,
that's the father. Why 7?
Yes, he mentioned 7 Karbonos, yeah. Yeah, whatever. It was a hot plate, yeah. Whatever, yeah, and so on. But in any case, I told you that there's a Chazal, Yalkut Shimoni. It's a Yalkut Shimoni in 499 in Yeshayahu. Here's what it says. It says, B'shavua b'shem ben David bo, in the week that Mashiach ben David comes. Now, it doesn't mean the week, but it means, let's say, in a 7-year cycle, 7 years, Shemitah cycle. It said, Poras, Persia, will instigate a tremendous amount of problems with Arabia. Arabia will then go to Edom to seek counsel. And then it says that Poras, Machreves Ha'olam, will begin to destroy the world. And Klal Yisrael will run back and forth, saying, we don't know what to do, because literally they are trying to destroy the world. Okay, and then a Baskel will come out. It's a Medrash, where the Baruch says, a Baskel comes out and says, Higia zman geulaschem, the time of your redemption has arrived. Everything that I have done is only for your sake. That's in the Vua, that's a Medrash.
What does it say?
Where?
Which Navi?
No, it's a Yalkut Shimoni.
Oh, Yalkut Shimoni.
It's a Medrash. So that whole Medrash talks about Mashiach ben Yosef. But anyway, what do we see? It said that Persia will incite a tremendous war against Arabs. Then the Arabs will run to America, and then they will break out, they'll try to destroy the world. Now, 30 years ago, or whatever, you'd say this is ridiculous. Why? Persia can't destroy the world. How can they possibly do that? You're talking about a major superpower. This was many years ago. But today, what's happening? Nukes, nuclear arsenal. It's unbelievable to see that Persia or Iran, that's Persia, is going to assume a nuclear status, which is mamish what the Medrash says. And the West, in 2002, when they discovered that Persia or Iran was developing a nuclear weapon, okay, the West has been trying to stop Persia. That's the last 13 years. And of course it's a joke, because Iran has been, running circles around these idiots, and so on. They have no concept of what's going on here, and so on. And now that they have a nuclear weapon, look at the Medrash. It's incredible how a Medrash that's written 2,000 years ago can predict that in the end of time, Iran or Persia is the last enemy of the Jews. It's an astounding concept. But this is what the Medrash says. So this is what's happening. So years ago, I knew this Medrash, and I knew that the UN and all these guys trying to negotiate, nothing is going to happen. And in nothing happened. But what is interesting, we now begin to understand, because what the Russian wants is that Persia, Iran, is going to bring the end. They're going to bring the end. And in order to do that, they have to have nuclear weapons. Therefore, we can now begin to understand why Obama is president. Because if it was a normal president, if it was a normal president, this would never happen, and so on. But if you take a guy like Obama, who's fundamentally a closet Muslim, he's not even so closet anymore, and so on, that he is actually, because he's obviously a very disturbed person, he is actually allowing the leading sponsor of international terrorism to have a nuclear weapon? Is he out of his mind? That's number one. Not only that, but it's not only that they say they want to destroy Israel, they want to destroy the whole West, because that's really what they want. They want to achieve total dominion of the entire Middle East, and after that, it's going to be America. Why is that? Because Shiites believe in the hidden imam. There was a guy, I think he was the 12th imam, whatever, after Muhammad and so on, and he's a hidden guy. I'm not clear why, but he is supposed to come back after a holocaust of the entire world. So theologically, they're driven to destroy the world. I mean, Adrabah, when the world will be destroyed, then their Mashiach will come. They're crazy people. And therefore, on the contrary, there's no such thing as, mutually exclusive destruction, mad, that stop Russia and the US from destroying each other, because everybody wants to live after. But these guys are hoping for a mass destruction of the world. So, on the contrary, they think, it's like that guy, the Ayatollah now. He said, I don't mind if Iran burns. On the contrary, because then the Mashiach will come. I mean, what they're really saying is suicide is a tikkun for the Bria. Churban is a tikkun for the Bria. Therefore, what?
Why is Russia on their side?
Money. You always look for the dollar. Russia's in red. Russia has big problems. Putin has big problems. Money. Oil is in red, right? And not only it's bad news for oil, but America has now become the largest producer in the world of light crude because they discovered how to take oil out of shale, and so on, fracking and so on, hydraulic fracking and so on. So therefore, America now will become totally independent of oil, and America can ship that oil off to Europe. So therefore, what's happening with Russia is they don't even have enough money. They only have $500 billion in reserve, and it's being used up very rapidly because they're not selling oil. So what's happening is, number one, the world's economies are collapsing. China, Japan, and Russia, Europe, their economies are collapsing. Therefore, there's very little demand for oil. So therefore, who are you going to sell the oil to? And not only that, what Obama is doing is beyond belief. not only is he giving Persia, Iran, the leading international sponsor of terrorism. I mean, take a look at what they're doing. They've got Libya, Egypt. They have what do you call it? Because the Sinai. The Sinai is fighting with El Sisi. They have Lebanon, right? They have Syria. They have Iraq, and now Yemen. It's like it's a free for all. It's unbelievable to watch as Arab kills Arab. It's like Israel doesn't have to do anything, And of course, we wish all the sides hatzlacha. We wish them total hatzlacha, but all sides. But in any case, so he wants to allow nuclear weapons to a country that is a leading sponsor of international terrorism. Not only that, but what's going to happen is everybody in the Middle East is now going to buy bombs. Because Saudi Arabia and Iran are lethal enemies. They hate each other. So now they're all thinking of purchasing nuclear weapons. They don't have the money. Could you imagine all these governments which are unstable are going to now have nuclear weapons? Wait, they're going to blow, one crazy Arab wakes up one day and says, jihad, he presses the button. And poof, it was the whole Middle East. Because these guys are not normal. And so by him allowing Iran to develop a bomb, in essence what he's doing is going to allow the entire region to become nuclear. And that's the end of the world, basically. And so on, So what is happening is beyond belief to watch. Now, so I once mentioned why Obama is the president and so on. Because it's really a Muslim that has to take over Erdogan and so on. But now you see clear what's going on. He's an enabler. Because without him, Iran could never get the bomb. And apparently that prophecy is going to happen. So he's now negotiating with what do you call it, Iran, to give them a nuclear weapon, which is beyond belief and so on. I mean, and the whole world is just sitting there, can't believe what this guy's doing, and so on. In any case, so you have the prophecy of the Medrash is coming true. They will have a nuclear weapon, because I believe it's possible that he will actually sign a deal with Persia, Iran, and therefore they will get that nuclear weapon. Now, what will happen after that is very difficult to know in terms of Klal Israel, because they are obviously the major threat and so on. But it's very possible that they will have that, and they could build a bomb in they say in 2 or 3 months they can have a nuclear weapon, and so on, which is incredible, and so on. I mean, the deal so far is you can keep 5,000 centrifuges, and everybody knows that those 5,000 centrifuges are sophisticated enough to make a nuclear weapon in 2 or 3 months. It's unbelievable. I mean, you can't even stop them, and then talk about validation, which is the biggest joke in the world. You're trusting Iran, who cheats and lies and all that, and you talk about validation. I mean, you should know, when you look at this, it looks like it's like Washington is an insane asylum, and the patients have taken over the asylum. That's what it looks like. They're insane people. They're dealing with one of the greatest evil countries ever known. How many wars that they foment all over the world, and I'm not even talking about ISIS and so on. These guys are just it's hard not to lose your head over ISIS. In any case,
For my next
so that's another messianic advancement that you see, that the Yalkut Shimoni, the prophecy that Iran is the last of the Clippers and so on and so forth, is happening right in front of us, So then you have that concept, But what's even more interesting, which I mentioned, is that the last clip I mentioned, there were 3 of them. Who are the last nations that will persecute the Jews? One is Edom, okay. Then another one is Yishmael. Then you have the Erev Rav. Those are the last 3 that will be the major persecutors of the Jewish people. The Erev Rav we spoke about. That's the all the Erev Rav, all those Jews, whether it be Israel or America Reform Conservative Movement, these guys are all the Erev Rav. And the Mapai, even the Likud is an Erev Rav and so on, Look at what they just did before the elections and so on, It's incredible, So you have the Erev Rav, and you have Yishmael, which of course is the Arabs and so on, Muslims. And then you have also Edom, which is insane what he's doing. Now, what's interesting about all this is that Yishmael is really the last one to rise. But what you see now is the fall of Yishmael. You mamish see them, first of all, they're killing each other. All the Arab nations are falling apart. All their governments are mamish falling apart. It's like unheard of. They're being destroyed by internally and so on. So that's the first destruction of Yishmael. The second thing is oil. Oil is all the way down to, what is it now, $50 a barrel? They're going crazy because they're not getting any money for oil. Besides that, you have other countries, because of shale oil, that have now become major producers of oil, and so on. So,
That's fracking?
Yishmael, what was that?
That's fracking?
Yeah, shale oil is fracking, yeah. So you now have major countries that are taking over the ability to do oil and so on, And so what we're witnessing here is an unbelievable event called the fall of Yishmael. So if Yishmael is really the end, how close, how far are we really from the end? Like I said, you look at Persia, which is basically the end. The Arabs and the Muslims are managed to fall apart. That's another thing, Then you have Edom taking over in terms of oil. When you put all these simonim together, all these simonim are converging to produce something that looks like it may be spectacular, that something may happen that is really spectacular, And besides that, it's not only the oil-producing nations and the Arab nations in general, Abbas, he's desperate. He's finished. He's an old man, and he can't do what he wants to do. He can't give in to Israel. And there's no way he can get Israel to give up everything it wants. And now with Netanyahu, he's going against what America wants, Obama and so on, So that's why Abbas is desperate. He wants to try to get him into the international tribunal. He's just a desperate person. When Arabs become desperate, which is interesting, what I believe ultimately will happen is that they will attempt a last war with Iran as a backup to war with Israel. And in that war, the Israeli Arabs will join the Arabs, and America will join with Israel. Because ultimately what we're looking at is a clash of civilizations. That's really what we're looking at. We're looking at Yishmael fighting Edom, and that's also a prophecy, which I once mentioned, and so on. That's a Pirkei de Rebbe Eliezer. In Pirkei de Rebbe Eliezer, Perek Lamed, it says that La'osid Lovo Bi'achrus Hayomim, in the end of days, what will happen? It says that Yishmael will conduct 3 wars of terror against the world, against Edom, against the world. And the last one will be the destruction of the great city of Rome. Who is Rome? Edom, America. The great city is New York. What is that? World Trade Center. And then it says that Umisham, and from that event, Yitzmach ben David, and whenever it says Yitzmach, he will sprout, it means Mashiach ben Yosef. And Mashiach ben Yosef is going to look as Edom destroys Yishmael, and Yishmael destroys Edom. So you're looking at a clash of civilizations, which is mamish what's happening. It's building up. ISIS and so on, they want to take out America and so on, And then it says, he sees that, and then he says, Misham Yovil Eretz Yisrael. He will come to Eretz Yisrael, and that's the beginning of the Messianic era. So what we're really looking is a tremendous clash of civilizations. And this really, in many ways, is what's happening. This same Pirkei Rebbe Eliezer, basically that concept of a clash of civilizations is also repeated at the end of Yoel. Yoel has 4 prokim. And at the end of the 4th parak, which is 2 or 3 psukim from the end of Yoel, it says that Yishmael and Edom are going to fight to the death. And if you take a look at the Malbim talks about this and so, So again, you have the same concept, where there's going to be a massive war between Yishmael and Edom. Because what the Rosh Hashanah is going to do, he's going to have each one take each other out. See?
At the same time, Yishmael is now clearly trying to subdue Edom, because as a Jew, it's interesting that the order of who's on the prey list, we're on the bottom of the 3 religions. They're more interested in hacking up Christians in Africa, and there's a whole big thing, Christians in Iran, which really, what are they doing that for? You mentioned that they're going to subdue Edom. But why the division within Yishmael? What are they cleansing? Like, why? I'm glad they're divided, but why is one part of Yishmael trying? They're also killing fellow Muslims. What's that about?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a certain type of Muslim that they're cleansing out their own people?
Well, you're either Shiite or Sunni. You're one or the other. They hate each other.
But they're brutal, right?
They've been fighting each other the last 1,500 years. And what's the difference between them? It's the same religion. I think it depends on who the heir of Muhammad. Was it a son or a son-in-law? So it's a yichus problem. It's mamash, and so on. And they're killing each other, which is unbelievable. What's so stupid about when you think about what ISIS is doing? If they want to fight America, then they should try. Then they want as many Arabs to exist, because they need everybody to fight America, right? Instead, they're killing out their own guys. It's like who said that? I forgot who said that. I think Abba Iban said, the Arabs never miss an opportunity. The Arabs always miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Oh, what's his name? He used to say in the New York Times, they always shoot themselves in the leg. Because what they do makes no sense. You need every Muslim you can get to fight off Europe and so on and so forth. So what are you doing? You're killing your own guys. And it's Sunnis killing Sunnis. It's like, it's a... But what the Bashma has done is unbelievable. He has destroyed Yishmael from within. He's like he's saying to Klal Yisrael, don't worry. You don't have to touch them. I will get them to destroy themselves and so on. And that's mamash what's happening. But the larger picture is that this is Yishmael descending. It is falling. That's the real large picture.
So you don't think
they are the real, in the end, they're falling. So therefore, the only, which is interesting to watch, ISIS. Because ISIS is the last attempt of Yishmael to rise. That's really what it is. And they are just insane with rage and hatred of anything that's not, and so on, But in many ways, everybody else is falling apart. But ISIS, they're the ones who will ultimately, I think, marshal the Arabs and so on in some way with Iran together to try to war with America. And that's really what's coming up. This incredible clash of civilizations. And so this is what we're seeing. So if you put all the stuff together, the tetrad, the 4th tetrad, the fact that it's Motzoi Shemitah, the fact that it's possibly a Yovel, the fact that Yoel, where the Boshim says, I will blot out the sun and I will turn the moon to blood before the great and awesome day of God, and so on. You have that, then you have Paraduma, then you have Asidim, 12 princes, 12 prime ministers of Israel, and then a war that there will only be 10 Shemitahs after the Holocaust, and so on. That's what we got, 7. 8 is the fall of Yishmael, which is Mamish. 9 is what? Is the rise of Iran to become nuclear, and so on. And 10 is the clash of civilization, which is happening. which mama should happen. Then these guys are devoted to kill people in the United States. At the same time, what's interesting is Israel is growing by leaps and bounds economically. There's unbelievable stuff that comes out of Israel. Israel has enough entrepreneurs. More stuff comes out of Israel than the entire Europe combined. Imagine what kind of growth that is, and so on. Which of course makes sense because Israel has to be a vibrant and viable place for Jews to come once this place collapses, and so on. And in the end, like I said, I told you about the Zohar. That the Zohar says that Chis HaMesim will take 210 years. So if the world ends in 6,000, right, that means 5,790 is 210. And we know that Chis HaMesim starts after Mashiach ben David. So if Chis HaMesim takes 210 years, that means Mashiach ben David has to arrive by 5,790. Where are we now? 5,775. It's 15 years from now. So in 15 years, what's going to happen? Clash of civilizations, right? Then after clash of civilizations, right? You're going to have then the entrance of Mashiach ben Yosef, right? He's going to bring down the Rishon, build the Beis Hamikdash, bring all the Golas back to Eretz Israel. Then you're going to have the war of Goyig and Magog, Goyig from the land of Magog against Yerushalayim, and then you're going to have the Mashiach ben David. Can you imagine in 15 years what this place is going to look like? And it already is looking like that. The tremendous amount of butchery going on all over. And there's economic problems in many countries and so on. So obviously, according to the Zohar, all of this is going to happen in 15 years. And it's happening. There's such an incredible acceleration of major events and so on. It seems so, although it's hard to determine. But I think what's going to happen is somebody's going to be president who's going to be very good for the Jews. Because I think what has to happen is Edom has to get behind the Jews and allow them and aid them in their war against Yishmael. I think what's going to happen is Yishmael is going to pull off some incredible catastrophe in America. And all of a sudden everybody's going to wake up. They're going to put in somebody who's a hardliner, and in the ISIS is growing. Every day they grow, It's only a matter of time until they reach Israel. Everybody knows that.
Why does America have to back Israel?
What?
Why does America have to back Israel before the end?
Because Israel is going to try to take out the Arabs.
So why does America... Oh, so they need America's backing.
They need they need America's approval and their backing, yeah. So in order for that to happen, there has to be a president in America which is pro-Jewish, very much behind Jews. So it sounds like the Republicans, I don't know which Republican, but there are certain Republicans that are very good, and they are tremendously pro-Israel. So that would indicate that Hillary will not win. It'll be some type of Republican who will tremendously back Israel, and that president will confront Iran, okay? And then, there's going to be some type of conflict or whatever, and, Israel will expel the Arabs in Israel, and America will back them, and then they themselves will fight. I mean, we're looking at different... American Israel will fight. ISIS, Persia, the whole group.
So what's this whole thing
I mean, it's hard, there are different scenarios that can occur, but there's no question that this world is looking at an unbelievable conflict.
What was the thing about at the end that there's going to be no one, that there's mamish going to be no one else they're going to look around, there's going to be no one else backing them, and they're going to only the
what?
Something that I heard that
at
the end there's
Promotional site though.
that at the end that there's going to be nobody else to back them, and they're going to only have Emunah. That's the only thing they have left.
Who are you talking about? Jews?
Yeah.
Well, right now there's nobody to back us.
I'm just saying, if a president who's pro-Israel, then there's a tendency to get behind the pro-Israel president. And
you have to remember, ultimately, what's going to happen is the war of Goyig from the land of Magog. Yeah, that's Goyig and Magog, yeah. Because remember, when the Jews go up, all nations go down. Means
so
all of a sudden...
Asa will start
Even Asa will go against the
Right,
Jews.
okay.
Why? Because it's the end of their domination, their dominion, their sovereignty. You know, who are the main actors on the stage? It's the Jews. You think the Goyim are going to give up their position for the Jews? No. So then everybody, ultimately, you know, will start going against the Jews. Besides, Goyim is not Yishmael. Goyim is probably some type of a European or something like that. And, you know, then everybody's going to go against Israel because their way of life, their domination, their superiority is gone. And therefore that will evoke enormous jealousy, you know. So there's a lot of incredible things that are coming up, you know, to happen.
Two quick questions. This growing Christian voice in America
Yeah.
that's speaking about the Jews in Israel, even those running for Washington, Cruz, certain people mention this. Are they true allies now? We don't have to worry about them turning and being persecutors again in the church? Are they going to be genuine allies of the Jewish people from this point forward?
You talking about America?
No, within America, the religious Christian
The
voice
church,
that's
the church
rising
does.
now. I hear
Only
you.
the fundamentalists.
So are they
you know,
genuine
yeah.
allies at this point, or
Yeah, right now, well, these guys are genuine allies, yeah. There's an enormous amount of anti-Semitism in Europe. I mean, that's because of the Arabs. Yeah.
And the second quick thing, why is it during the Crusades and now, these people that commit historically the most heinous crimes to innocent men, women, and children, they put forth the identity that they're strong adherents to God? Is that just random?
Say that again?
During the Crusades,
Yeah.
and also now,
Yeah,
these people who commit these heinous acts against innocent men, women, and children,
yeah.
they want to be identified as though they're strong embracers of God, that they try to come across like they're really, you know, very strict. Why not just be regular barbarians and kill people for the fun of it? But why is there the association that...
When was the
they are-
last time you met a guy who admitted he was a barbarian? Even Hitler, Yamach Shemai, right? You know, I mean, you're talking about the greatest of all mass murderers, or actually not the greatest. I mean, Khrushchev did a bigger number than he did, you know. But even he had to justify his actions because he didn't want to look evil. So he said that the Jews really have to be they have to be killed because they have made us wimps, you know, and therefore it's our obligation. They're taking us over, you know. Nobody wants to come across as evil. They don't want to admit they're evil. So it's all kinds of rationalizations, of course,
Thanks.
you know. So that's certainly what the Crusades were, you know, on the way to free Jerusalem from the Arabs. You know, they just took out how many millions of Jews, you know. That's what they are, you know. So, you know. But in any case, this is all indicative of what's happening. So we now understand, you know, look at it from this standpoint. Obama's there to make sure that Iran has the nuclear weapon, which is incredible, you know. And once they have it, then this world is going to really shake. Because at the same, you know, in that treaty, whatever they want to call it, not even a treaty, in that agreement, there's not even a mention of the missiles that they have. Nothing. They don't even have to stop making those missiles.
Not only
It's
that,
incredible what's going
when
on.
they do this research is deep underground,
Yeah.
and the deal admits there will not be 24/7 surveillance.
Yeah.
It accepts it up front.
Yeah.
Now they
What surprises me, really, why didn't Obama just give them a nuclear weapon? Let me give it to them as a gift. That's what he's really doing, you know? That's what, you know, basically what he's doing.
But then he has blood on his
Why is Obama doing this? Several reasons. But first of all, because he really is a Muslim. Second of all, he hates Israel. And third of all, he actually deludes himself into thinking that you can actually talk with these guys, murderers, and they will be okay. You can actually make peace with them, and they'll like you if you're not if you're nice to them. Of course, it's all delusional thinking, you know. But one of the most important ideas is he needs a legacy. This man is the worst foreign policy president in American history. He's desperate for legacy. So he's hoping that he can actually make peace with Iran. He doesn't care if they sell Israel down his brain. What does he care? And so on. You know, it's the same problem that Clinton had. Clinton was willing to meet with Arafat. He never said a word about the fact that the PLO was killing. Remember all those sacrifice for peace stuff? because he wanted a legacy after his business with Monica. You know, that's what it's all about. In the end, it's all about them. They couldn't care less about anybody else. Same thing with Obama. He wants a legacy.
Cuba.
What was that?
Cuba.
It's ridiculous.
Legacy.
It's a legacy. It's not a legacy, it's an insanity. I mean, what is Cuba? Some little island? It's a joke. I mean, you know, it's... who even looks at Cuba?
And put his name
You know,
on.
what?
He took Raul Castro's name off the list of terrorist countries.
Yeah.
He should have put his name back on.
Whose name back on?
Obama should have put his name on.
His name, yeah.
As an American citizen, I feel it's a threat to everything.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
domestic
No,
foreign-
Cuba is nothing. It's a zero among the nations of the world.
It's about picking at straws.
Iran is a different story. It's Khrushchev.
He wanted to secure himself through shouldn't have another
I
Russian.
think he's sensing
crisis.
everything
So
American.
he's secured
That's
it.
what he's there for.
Who?
Obama.
With?
With Russia being so active now,
He wants to secure it. You mean,
with back in the days with the Cuban Missile Crisis,
yeah?
so he wanted to secure that shouldn't happen again with Russia being active. So he went on talking about his
I mean, because when Cuba, to bring Cuba, no, Russia won't do that. But Putin is great. He should be the president of the United States. You know? He looked at Obama, he says, this guy's a nobody, he's a zero. Now's the time to expand my empire. You know, they're all dreaming of empires. You know, Russia's dreaming of the old communist empire, you know, and Iraq is dreaming of Nebuchadnezzar, you know, Babylon, right? And Yishmael is dreaming of the day that they had the whole world, the Muslims had the whole world, you know, and Persia is dreaming about the old Persian Empire, which was one of the greatest empires. Finally took Alexander to knock him out, and so on. They're all dreaming of glory days gone by, and they want to resurrect the glory days. It's just an incredible thing, you know, to watch and so on, you know. So we see this happening, and then that's it. We just you have to take a look and be mispal. I mean, actually, Tefillah is not going to help really.
Sure.
Not going to help because it's all my Putin is taking a look and says, hey, now's the time to acquire. So he's got Crimea, he's after Ukraine. I'm sure he's got other things he's thinking about, you know, to take off and so on and so forth. Because he says, you know, he said it very well, Abraham Lincoln. He said, America is the last great hope of mankind. Lincoln said that, and he's right. Because, you know, as soon as the cat's away, the mice will play. You know, what held all these crazies in place was America. But with a guy like Obama, all the cockroaches are coming out of the holes. You see. Because there's nobody that's guarding civilization. And that's why all this is happening. They all laugh at Obama. I mean, you know, when you think about that. But unfortunately, he's the most powerful man in the world. It's just incredible what this man is doing to America. I think that when Obama finally leaves the office in January of 2017, right? I think there's going to be Azah Simcha. Everybody's going to make parties all around, America. Just thank God we got rid of this rubbish.
Actually, the new
It's
president.
this man is actually bringing the world to the brink of death. That's really what he's doing, under some delusion that he can talk to the Ayatollahs.
The new president's really going to have to do an apology tour. Like, we're sorry for the last 8 years, we don't know what happened. Remember, he did an apology tour for
Yeah.
one. The next guy's going to have to do the real apology tour.
I'll never forget. You remember Ceausescu from Romania? He's a brutal dictator. Ceausescu. He's brutal. He was terrible, you know. I'll never forget when the Romanians finally overthrew the guy, Ceausescu. He was a sick madman, Ceausescu. It's interesting. So they took him and they killed him in the firing squad. And I hold the only reason why they didn't put him up for trial and all that, because he had a tremendous chus. Romania was a nation that Jews used to come from communism, Russia. They used to be able to have the stopover in Romania. And that was a tremendous chus and so, you know. But I'll never forget, it was on the radio, you know, and they had just overthrown the dictatorship of Ceausescu in 1990, I think it was, or something like that, you know, 1990. And you know, and they put a microphone by the enormous hundreds of thousands of people were there, and they were all screaming their heads off. It was like you certainly say that's the Yeshua. In other words, when a person finally realizes that the evil is gone, then everybody screams. You know, it's such a azam, it's such a simcha. And I remember listening to that, you could hear what that is on the day that the Mashiach comes, and the Satan will be destroyed, and there is no more evil. You know, could you imagine the simcha that will happen in the entire world when there's no more evil? But I'll leave you with one more idea. I remember I was sitting in a car, I was turning the radio, and they were honoring some kind of it was a pitcher. He was he takes over for
Relief.
who?
Relief
A relief
pitcher.
pitcher. What's his name? Famous guy.
Riviera.
Who? Riviera, I think it was Anyway, so he was retiring. So they were honoring him. You know what I'm saying? You can't believe there was like 70,000 people in the stadium, and they were all screaming at the top of their lungs because they were honoring this guy. You know, Riviera, because he's a relief pitcher. You know. So all of a sudden I realized something. That's incredible. I said, you know, in the end of time, when the Mashiach comes, right? When the Mashiach comes and the tikkun is over, right? The entire Bria is going to scream at the top of the lungs. And the ones who are going to be honored are the Jewish people. But it's not going to just be 70,000 people. It's going to be 7.5 billion people, all the malachim, right? Every malach, every person, everybody that has some kind of a live koyach are going to be screaming at the top of their lungs that it's finally over. That's what I want. You hear this kind of stuff, you know. And so, listen, gotta hang in there a little more, and soon it's going to be over. Okay. So next week, same time, we'll meet here.